Okay, so I was watching Explorer One's video. I believe it was last night. I actually was gonna make this video, but YouTube was not working for me at all last night. It took like 3 hours just to upload a video. I uploaded it like multiple times. It kept just saying processing, wouldn't do it. But moral of the story. So I was watching his video here, and he's talking about his old video that he made on this Hotels.com commercial, and he talks about, they show the Eiffel Tower in here, and there's the 239 right here. So we've talked about the 239th day of the United States, or 39th year of the United States. Pope Francis came on he went to the White House on 9/23 at 9:23 in the morning. He came to the United States on his 923rd day as Pope on 9/22. But anyway, you know, he talks about this and this number right here that sticks out, and it actually sticks out again at a spot over here, the 2140. Um, and actually, the most popular flight that leaves Paris or whatever, you can come watch this video. The most popular flight in France is the flight 2140. And I mean, obviously because they're trying to fake you out, but they make this one so much bigger. So they're showing you Paris, they show blackout dates, but also the time of the Bataclan attack. It started at 2140. But moral of the story, it made me go back and watch the video that I made about this too, because I was curious as to what I actually said. I couldn't remember. And just some interesting things, I guess. Anyway, one of the main things that I talked about was the picture of the Eiffel Tower. I talked about how Eiffel even kind of sounds like Eiffel Tower. Even though in the video I said I don't think they're actually going to destroy the Eiffel Tower, it seemed like more they were foreshadowing blackout. And I actually talked not even so much about electricity. I talked more about blackout, like taking the black out of the office, Obama being assassinated, the blackout. And it's just kind of interesting as I'm looking back at this. I mean, this lampshade right here, I don't know why. It doesn't really have to mean anything. It just reminds me of the movie Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby because he's like invisible. And there's a part where he actually wears an outfit that looks almost identical to that. But Bill Cosby, of course, is from Philadelphia. I've talked about Philadelphia. If you just go back and watch a lot of my other videos, there's too much information to explain over and over and over all the time. But I talk about Philadelphia in tons of these videos. How it seems like they're foreshadowing Philadelphia. And but that being said, so I've been talking about the number 56 a whole bunch with these recent things dealing with Paris. Even Paris, France is 56. A lot of significant things have been happening with the number 56 lately. It even goes back to the World Trade Center bombings. Osama bin Laden is 56, Rockefeller 56, even Saddam Hussein adds up to 56. There's all these other ones. In the last probably 5 videos, I mentioned these numbers over and over and over. Here's even some Philadelphia references that tie into Charlie Sheen and AIDS and Tom Hanks and whatnot. The movie Philadelphia. But it's interesting because I talked about the history of the Eiffel Tower, and I talked about how it was made to be like promoted at the World's Fair that year. That was in 1889. Was a World's Fair held in Paris, 1889, and basically they were unveiling the uh, Eiffel Tower. It says the main symbol of the fair was the Eiffel Tower, which served as the entrance arch to the fair. Yada yada yada. But look when the fair began. May 6th, like 5-6, the 56. So just another thing to go along with the 56 stuff. I mean, ISIS even equals 56. So anyway, I looked up May 6th, because it's 5-6. It's the 126th day of the year. We talked about that number because tiger's blood adds up to 126. Charlie Sheen just came out with HIV or whatever. The 126. Also, 56 days is 1 month, 26 days. But what I didn't talk about was that May 6th, I guess, is the 126th day with 239 remaining. So, I mean, we got the 239 here in this film. Also, in regards to blackout dates in Gematria, we have Ben Franklin, 106 and 52. 52 is, or 239 is the 52nd prime number. The 106 is all tied into the Philadelphia train wreck that happened at 9:23 p.m., going 106 miles an hour. The engine number 601. October 6th is 10/6, and September 23rd is, they're the same Gregorian to Julian if you convert them. So it's just like the 923 reference, which is also the 239 reference, because as dates you can write it as this, or you can write it as this. And the reason I mention that is because Benjamin Franklin, right, he flew the kite and they got struck by lightning. It's all about like electricity. So then I guess also World Fair adds up to 52 and 106. Interesting too, the fair actually lasted from 5/6 into Halloween, which is a span of 5 months, 25 days, 52, 25. Also, Charlie Hebdo happened on this day, and if you go to the Paris attacks, it's a span of 10 months, 6 days, kind of like 106. Also, 5/6 to the day of the Paris terrorist attacks is a span of 191 days. This 91 has just been all over the place recently, even Paris terrorist attacks adds up to 91. I talked about Ghostbusters 2 and how they talk about the end of the world on Valentine's Day 2016, and Valentine's adds up to the same as 91 and Revelation. Also, I forgot to mention that I talked a lot about the bridge coding and whatnot. It seems like they were coding bridges a lot, and this bridge, Benjamin Franklin Bridge, is in Philadelphia. Also on this map I talked about on a later video that it lines up to Idaho, where there's the nuclear power plant, the first one to use plutonium to power the town or whatever. Plutonium is plutonium-239. And then blackout dates again. Think about the World Series when the power went out, or the broadcast went out, kind of like a blackout. It literally came back on at 9:23. And the captain in this is Captain Obvious. They're just telling you, right there. It's so obvious, They're pointing this out to you. They're telling you what's going on. I've seen a few other airlines in here. If you really get down and research it there's a Winnipeg airline and San Francisco. So who knows? I mean, maybe for future events. And the reason that I say that they're still using this, and positive, just today in the news, what did we have? The deadly Mali hotel attack. Give me a break. You know what I mean? It's Captain Obvious. They put the Eiffel Tower in here. Even this number that goes back to the France attack, the Paris attack. And then now we have a hotel attack? No way. I mean, who knows? That's some crazy stuff. They even talk about a nude beach in this, so maybe a nude beach everyone's gonna get their wieners chopped off now or something. Who knows? It's gonna be the next CNN headline article. And I only said wiener just to segue into what I was gonna talk about next was like ballpark freaks, the wieners. Michael Jordan's even one of the sponsors or whatever. But Frank, I talked about how Frank is Lucifer in like one of my very first videos ever. Frank, it seemed like the name had a tie back to Lucifer in multiple movies, multiple themes, whatever. But you got Pope Francis. I mean, even like think of his name, Pope France, and then like Islamic State, France, Islamic State. He even gets his name from Saint Francis of Assisi, who actually he got his name as a tribute to France from his dad, Francisco, the Frenchman. This guy even died at the age of 44, which I think is pretty telling considering the blackout theme. Obama's the 44th president. Lots of stuff with 44. 44 is even a kill number. France was even established, or the Republic was established on 9/22/1792. Interesting day because Pope Francis came to America on this day on his 923rd day as being Pope, and it's exactly 223 years after France, the French Republic was established. And 223 is also the Synagogue of Satan. Friday the 13th, the same day that the Paris attacks happened. Skull and Crossbones, hence the Synagogue of Satan. Even Philadelphia Trainwreck, 223. Even Napoleon's real name adds up to 223. Skull and Bones is 322. Hotels.com adds up to 149, just like Skull and Bones. And that being said, the Mark of the Beast, 603 score and 6, adds up to 313. And also 133. Pope Francis became the Pope on 3/13 of 2013. Literally, if you do both of these as a date, it is the same day that he became the Pope. And I mean, look at this, 9/22 to 11/13, the day Pope Francis came to the Paris attacks, a span of 52 days, or 1 month, 22 days. If you put Pope Francis in here in Gematria, he adds up to 122, just like San Francisco, just like Kansas City, just like Trainwreck, a lot of things that all tie back together. Anyway, back to some 56 stuff. Don't you find it kind of interesting that, like, Anonymous comes out and they make a message to ISIS and blah, blah, blah. They're going to get ISIS and blah, 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 blah. And it's all based on the Guy Fawkes stuff and the gunpowder plot. Well, this literally happened on November 5th. And on November 5th, there's 56 days left until the end of the year. And, it was all about, they were Catholics, and they wanted to get rid of King James the First, the guy who, or the sixth, but the guy who made the King James Bible, or got it all put together, the King James 1611 Bible. Pope Francis came to the United States at 4:04 p.m. this year, and 1611 is 404 years ago. There's even 404 verses in Revelation. But what I find interesting, I guess, is that King James's son was Charles the First, also the guy after him. And then we've talked about that if Queen Elizabeth dies, her son will be King Charles the Third. So it just sticks out. Also, this guy ended up getting executed during the English Civil War. But to tie it into France, this guy married a Catholic French girl. And his dad was like the leader of the Church of England, so it just seems kind of strange to me that he would marry this lady, a Catholic from France. I don't know, I just run into a lot of questions when I start researching all these ancient royals and whatnot, or, old royals. More than likely this was probably just a hoax, just like all of the fake stuff they put in the news now. You know what I mean? So, who knows? Eventually I want to gather my thoughts and actually make a full video on this, but it's just, I get lost sometimes. I always discover new things that disprove what I thought and whatnot. But speaking of people, like psychological things, Sigmund Freud interested me. Born on May 6th of 56, so 5/6 of 56, and look when he died. September 23rd, 1939. Just interesting days. I don't know. And then, this guy is all about the conscious and unconscious, and analyzing people's dreams and brain, and, how you could hoax them and fake them out or do whatever. But, man, there's so much I want to talk about. There's a lot of connections. I don't even know how to put it all together is the problem. I want to rewatch this movie, because I'm pretty sure they take the flight from New York and then they're going to Paris when the plane explodes. Also, the movie Home Alone. I'm pretty sure when they leave him home alone in this first movie, the family's going to Paris. I just think Macaulay Culkin, and then Michael Jackson, and then Michael Jackson's daughter's name is Paris even. Who knows, that could be absolutely nothing. But I don't know how I even thought of this. I was thinking about it for some reason. I was thinking of Mount Rushmore and Team America, and he's in the movie Richie Rich, and at the end of the movie, there's a big scene at Mount Rushmore. But this movie, though, the reason that he gets left behind is because the power goes out, and they get up late for their flight. Anyway, moral of the story, this Hotels.com ad or commercial, I think it's still actually coded. I need to look at it, but it's so hard to get a good enough view of some of the things that are on there, but it definitely is obvious. Anyway, have a good night.